Hey guys, this will be video 7 for the how to design build a custom Sparkle Flying V. And I'm going to try to keep this video primarily focused towards whomever will be buying this guitar, because I do have this listed on eBay and I'm about a week behind on the build. But I think it's really important that I make certain that, as I promised in my listing, that oh yeah, every 3 days I'm going to have a video up and I'm going to cover some of the grounds that or I'm going to go over some of the grounds that I've covered, so that you can determine whether you want the guitar or not. Okay, so let's do that. Let's talk about the progress of this guitar, and then we'll talk about the hollow body a little bit as well. Everything's going really well. This is about 3 weeks now that this body has been painted. It's beginning to actually get a more focused tone. This is the antique pine, as mentioned in the ad. But I went ahead and machined and fit the actual neck that will be, because this is the neck that will be going in this guitar, and it's Honduran mahogany. But in one of the last videos, I think I already had some of the machine work done, but I know I did not have the taper. And I've got this tapered on a 1.5 degree pitch. It's going to be a sweet, real nice low profile guitar, very, very much vintage feeling. And I've already calculated it. The bridge is going to ride, the strings are going to ride just under 11/16 of an inch high at the body. And that's a sweet place to be. So anyway, I've already got this fit. I'll just go straight to the discussion here of fitting this neck. There's a little bit of a hiccup here. Okay, look right here. You can see where the router jumped a little bit. It's not a big deal. I'll be able to repair it, and you'll never know it took place. But nonetheless, it didn't affect anything. It didn't hurt anything. But this is also kind of, you begin to hear the acoustics of the guitar as it starts to come together, and that is initial fitment before any sanding. It's not, in other words, it's not going to require any sanding at all, other than just very minimal shaping. Okay, now this neck is going to be, it'll receive about 15 to 17, probably about 13 to 15 coats of nitrocellulose lacquer finished before it ever even gets glued in. That way, once it goes together, I won't be up here trying to sand and shape and run the risk of screwing up the black. So once they do go together, it'll be really beautiful, and I'll even have this neck heel profile far, far more refined than what you see right there. That's very unattractive and very rough, but it's much, much better to start out with it a little bit too big, and you shape it into an authentic, beautiful 50s-esque heel. Okay, but it will have the step like the last one, the red sparkle, which will be really beautiful. So I'm extremely happy with the progress of the joinery, other than that one little hiccup right there. But as I mentioned, I'll be able to repair that. And obviously it's up under a pickup, so it's not going to affect any of the appearance. But I'll always know that I messed up a little bit. I've already mentioned the pitch. I went ahead, and for you builder guys out there, I went ahead and sealed that wood just to be safe, because when you start getting below 3/4 of an inch thick, very unlikely that wood, because this is quarter sawn antique wood, it's not going to move. But I did buy a guitar once that I thought the thing was an arch top, but it was a Fender Stratocaster, an old 70s Stratocaster. And it literally had because it had all that routing down the center, it had warped down. And when I was looking, I was like, oh man, some idiot come in here and has, tried to do an arch top. And then I put a straight edge across the back, and sure enough, it had the bell, it had the gully And then the belly up here, this was a you know what, 70 strap. It wasn't a knockoff. It was the real thing. But someone had done some additional crap over here. So I'll say all that to say this. Anytime I come in and do some major machine work, I like to seal it with my nitrocellulose lacquer. Okay. So the next thing, again, this is the neck for this guitar. Double adjustable truss rod with it's going to be a very fast profile. This, I don't know the dimension. I think this is going to finish out being 7/8 of an inch thick at the first fret and just barely 1 inch. It's exactly right at about 1 inch thick at the 11th fret. So that's a 60s soft D. Will be an extremely fast neck. It'll have a 12-inch radius. Bolivian rosewood fretboard, which the fretboard, I'm looking at it right now. I've already got the fret slots cut and the fret it's in a jig. All it needs is to be radiused and the frets installed and the mother of pearl dots. So in other words, this one's coming together very quickly. So, and I'll update the pictures. And then I'll show you in a minute when I start talking about how to build the guitar, that all that's going to get shaped and it will end up looking like this right here. Okay. And obviously it'll have the stinger, which is kind of I wish I could say it's my signature, but it's not necessarily Gibson's signature, because all of the big body jazz guitars, well, a lot of the really high-end jazz guitars back in the 40s and maybe the 30s and 40s, whenever the jazz guitars came out, I think the L5 came out in well, it doesn't matter. It was well before the 50s. They were doing the black stinger on the back, so it will receive that, just like what is in the what was done on the other guitar. And this one's a little bit more refined. It'll be a little bit. You've already seen it. I mean, if you guys are very beautiful. I mean, just stunning. Just so cool. All right, I got to get emotional there. Very happy with it, coming together very well. And what's so cool is, even though it's a little bit thinner profile, it's just staying arrow straight. And I'm the type builder that if there's any bit of a hiccup, I discard them. I'm not going to drive myself crazy trying to salvage something that is just going to work me to death. But the beautiful thing about working the Honduran mahogany, as soon as you rough it out in its very, very initial state, when it's like that right there, but kind of rough, if it's going to be problematic after you've roughed it out. See, these two necks came out of a huge board that was like 3 inches by 4. So when you've got that big 3-inch by 4-inch board, it might be perfectly S4S or square, rectangular, but then once you do all this bandsaw work and you've got these rough, very rough neck lowers out, if there's a problem with that board, it's going to show then. It's going to reveal within just an hour or two. And the beautiful thing about this being perfectly quarter sewn, and from the supplier where I get all my guitar wood, he specializes in exotic woods for luthiers building stuff exactly like this. So he knows exactly what it is that we need. And on that note, when you rough it out, it's very unlikely that it's going to warp on you. So let me check the time. 9 minutes. What else should I talk about for someone considering buying this guitar? I haven't done the binding yet. Obviously, that's kind of apparent, so I won't talk about it. But it will get the very thin 20 thousandths black, and then the well, I'll go ahead and show it. Take a second. Because I believe this might be the first time where I've actually had the see, it'll get the, I think I did talk about this a little bit. It'll get the black up against the gold sparkle, which is really beautiful, very thin, and then it will get the cream out here. Now this is a little bit wide, so it's going to get machined down, so don't let that throw you. That's about 5/16 of an inch. This is going to get dropped down to just over 1/4 of an inch. Okay, So it'll be really beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful guitar. And this is a cream ivory from a company called All Parts. And most of you luthier guys out there know that All Parts has some of the most beautiful cream binding. I do not like some of the cream bindings out there because they end up getting way too like artificially aged, and they're brown. They end up being more butterscotch. But the All Parts cream is a stunningly beautiful ivory cream. That's what's on this guitar right here. You can see, I mean, it's just beautiful against the Honduran mahogany. This is Honduran. This is more of a figured Honduran, but just a beautiful wood. I mean, a beautiful binding. Okay, I haven't trimmed this one yet, but it's anyway. It's all I use because my theory is binding is such an intense part of the job. The last thing I want is it to be wrong after you do all that work. Okay, so what can I talk about next? I'm going to talk about this guitar. I think, yeah, I may have already mentioned it, but yeah, because I was talking about sealing the wood. Same thing here. I just sealed that, and it's kind of funny because when you first do your initial seal work on this Honduran, it begins to reveal to you what your guitar is probably going to look like, and then about 5 minutes later, it just soaks down into the wood, and you can hardly even tell that it was sealed. But this guitar is just, it's amazing. It's truly coming alive. So won't spend any time talking about it because I want to stay on point here. And also keep this video under 20 minutes. I really don't want to go into any deep detail about, excuse me, how do you build a neck? Because I've already covered this in countless videos. I think 3 different guitar builds. I spent between 7 to 10 videos talking about, you know, how to do that right there. So I wouldn't do it any justice by saying, here's how you do it, because I probably wouldn't spend enough time talking about it. If you're really serious about, well, how do you cut your tenon, well, just shoot me a message and I'll send you to one of my videos where you can watch about 7 hours worth of time talking about that type of stuff. And also like the order of operations. So on that note, as I used to always say, let me check the time. I think I'm probably just going to maybe just end the video because I don't want to get into too much detail other than I will spend a little bit of time talking about the order of operations. So the order of operations, so let's just go there. Once you start transitioning into this roundover stage right here, I had mentioned in one of the early videos, yeah, I like to leave that flat on there and the flat here and all this stuff. That way it gives my router base something to write on. Well, just delete that information because I reconfigured my jig and I designed an upper platform that cantilevers over, and it also has a cutout in it. So that allowed me to go ahead and do all of my tenon work and actually do all of my fit work, even when this neck was really rough up here. Yeah, even if it was still S4S, it was still square. It might have been tapered, but I was able to go ahead and cut that tenon and go ahead and fit it to the body and get it perfectly centered, perfectly level here where I want it, or at least close enough that I could determine, oh yeah, that's exactly where I want it. So I'm through. I don't have to, if I wanted to table this project or if I'm busy and working on another guitar for a client, I don't have to come back to this project and ask myself, okay, where am I? What needs to be done? And where is the true center line? Can I trust the glue up line of this body as the center line? Or is it possibly something else? And it is, but I'm just saying when you're building, you want to, and I'm telling you, I'm going to try not to sound arrogant, but I hit that the first time. I haven't had to do any sanding at all. This one could be clear coated, and it would be finished. It's really not going to require much of anything. I did do a little bit of adjustment here in order to make certain that it did hit that target. But it's a good feeling when not only, and here's a good way to check it. You flip it over, and then you come back here and you look at the join across there, and if you have no daylight showing right there, that lets you know that everything about the the join is perfectly S4S, and even though it's on a 1.5 degree pitch, it's still staying perfectly true. And that's a really good feeling when you can get to that point to where it fits the first time. That's hard to do, so don't beat yourself up if you don't get there the first time, because that's what they make shims for. Uh, and what else? What would be the next thing? Then after you get that really fit, then you can come in and start doing your machine work. And when you're at this point, then you're going to want to take your. I love this chisel right here. This is a 1-inch chisel. It's short. I can get it in my palm. And let me see if I can just do this on the camera a little bit. Basically, what I'm just going to do this very quickly. You would come in, and I'm going to do it rough so I don't risk screwing anything up. Uh, you would just come in and identify the ledge, you know, on both sides, and then obviously you double check it. You go ahead and do both of them, and then really look at it and ask yourself, is that what I want? This one I know for a fact it is, but then you're basically going to come in with a flat chisel like this right here, and I'm just going to do it. And then what I do, I have it fixed like this right here, and then I'm able to do this stuff, and then I'm even able to put my thumb on the edge. And when I get down to this, the last thing you want to do is slip and go into that. That's your finished neck. That's not even an option. And I'm not going to do this all the way. I'm just going to show you how, you know, how you can start shaping into it. Okay? And you want to see these little things that look like little Fritos, you know? And you just really, this little chisel is all you need to really get you to that point to where, and I'm going to kind of force myself to stop because I'm so tempted to go a little further. But then you just start making a compound radius cut where this is very flat, but then once you get to right here, then you start rolling a little bit. Don't concave in. That was one of my first mistakes. When I was very, very early starting out, I thought that this concaved in. It does not. It just how it is convexed right here. It's also convexed up here, or in other words, it rounds over here, and then that round over just carries out to this point here where it turns into a compound radius, and then it flattens out. Okay? Simply put, if you don't understand it, just rewind and think about it. All you're doing is carrying the convex radius here into a flatter radius, which is obviously it's compound. This is not really compound back here, but it's very much compound up here. And to me, this is the pinnacle of getting to build a guitar neck. Getting to join this part right here to that part is probably some of the most rewarding woodwork I've ever done. And I never do it unless I'm in a really good mood and I'm in a really, really good, my head's in a good place, because you'd be shocked how close I get to the finished neck with that chisel, because I literally can come in here with this little rasp from Woodcraft, and I can blend. This is pretty much finished, so I got to be careful, but it's radiused on this back, it's flat on this side, so I can blend every bit of my work just by looking at it and watching it I've still got a little bit of work to do on this one. So much so that basically, then the next thing I do, I'm coming in with some, yeah, a little bit right there. I'm basically just coming in with like some 120. I like using a pretty aggressive sandpaper because I want to go straight to the finish line as quickly as possible. And then, because if you were sitting there with a worn out 400, you might you might work a flat right here as you're trying to work that down. But if you come in with a really aggressive, um, like a little piece of PVC pipe, maybe with some 120 on it, think about that. Makes for a great carving tool. Okay, so that's how you build a neck. And I can't really just say, oh, you got to, hold your left arm this way and your right arm this way. It's just all about getting in the shop and just building your own guitar. And it's amazing how quickly it'll turn into from this ugly flat into this really beautiful transition just within 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Okay, check the time. 21 minutes. I'm going to end the video right there, and I appreciate you guys checking in. I hope it wasn't a waste of time, but again, I had to get myself back on point and realize I gotta sell this guitar, and I gotta get it ready because the guitar that I'm about to build is going to be a 58 Explorer replica, and I've already located a template out of Europe, the template set, and it looks to be spot on per 58 specs. So I got to have some of these things out of the shop when that guitar takes off, because it's going to take off very quickly. And I will do a video series on building that guitar as well. So that ought to be an incredibly, incredibly exciting project. And I can't wait to play it as well, because we're going to take this one a little bit closer, well, pretty much finished. And I talked to a jazz guitar buddy of mine up in Nashville, and he's very likely going to be able to take it in the studio, and we're going to do a demo of Eric playing it. And Eric is a Berkeley trained jazz guitarist. He has a degree from Berkeley, and then he's toured the world with some incredible acts, and he's a super, super cool guy and a phenomenal guitar player. So that'll be a blast. That will be a blast, because he'll probably have access to, some truly vintage amps, and the studios where, everything that you hear on the radio is where we'll be doing the recording. So I appreciate you guys checking in, and back to Flying V's. This one will progress a little bit faster now, and be doing the binding tomorrow. So this little guitar is going to be probably finished within about a week, and then we'll go from there. And then that one will follow right behind it. Okay, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.